We'll do The Lady in the Van first, please.
So, Lady in the Van, directed by Nicholas Hytner, and basically, it is. I mean, you love that phrase, the lottery funded look, don't you? When it comes to like those English films that are sort of. They do have the sort of washed out look. Is that what was the best? Yeah,
Joe coined the term as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You coined the term.
Very clean.
Yeah, and then this is another one of those. Basically, the best way I can describe this is it's very light. There's nothing here that will challenge you or will make. There's no real drama. It's all sort of very low key, and it is very funny. So basically, the story involves an elderly woman called Mary Shepherd who has basically lived in a van for 15 years after an incident has led her to sort of abandon her life.
She's on the run.
She's on the run essentially for 15 years, and she ends up in the driveway of Alan Bennett, and he is a playwright, and he's struggling, and he's sort of wrestling with what he's going to do in his life. He's only just moved away, so he's sort of bought this house, and now this woman turns up to raise hell and change his life in a good way or a bad way. It is really like I said, it's not laugh a minute, but it's
it's based on a real play. It's based on a real experience of Bennett who turned it into a play, which is in the end of the film.
And and Maggie Smith as sort of Mr. Shepherd is really good, and
a role she did on the stage as well.
And really,
yep,
and Alex Jennings is equally good as the playwright Alan Bennett. But it isn't laugh a minute. There were couples in there who were guffawing all.
It was a very older audience.
Yeah, couple on the right, couple on the left of me could barely contain their breath with how long they were laughing for. They were really going for it. But it's sort of surrealistic in the fact that it is that, because the main narrative device within this film is the fact that obviously the lady is in the van and she is outside of the driveway. No way, plot twist. But Alan Bennett, there were many scenes where he is viewing her through the window, and basically he sort of the way it describes it is that writers live two lives: the writer who writes the story and the man who lives the story. So there's two versions of Alex Jennings' character so it's like it's not split screen, it's sort of they just exist in that same world, and it is sort of a great narrative device to have in there because they have conversations with each other. They view the lady in two different ways, and it's a great way to view the story through, and I really liked how that was brought in.
It really draws the audience in as
absolutely
being in the room with them, having the same conversations.
Because you can see that Alan Bennett was a sort of conflicted man, and having those two very distinct personalities, or well, not personalities, but sort of bring up sort of his charisma and his different styles. Obviously the writer style, and the man who lives these experiences, the one who wants to get out and experience more things for him to write about. So you can see that as he experiences the lady's many eccentricities, you really get to understand her and sort of the world that she lives in, which is very surrealistic. You know, she's very uptight. Maggie Smith's character, she's really sort of battered, and she is really sort of wary of. Obviously she is on the run, and she's really sort of just desperate to sort of keep her sort of cosy life in the van and sort of preserve it as much as you can. But the best thing is, I mean, you've just got to go along with it, really. I mean, it is really surrealistic. It is really sort of, you got to stretch your imagination, but it does succeed because it is really light and it is really warm, and I really did like that narrative device of the two characters talking to each other, because you really do get to see the world through his eyes and see just how stupid and wonderful and just really batty she is. She's a batty old woman, you know. It's Maggie Smith playing a batty old woman, and it's really good. I mean, Jim Broadbent plays a really creepy character. Like that's probably the creepiest I've seen him. Perhaps ever.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good. And Frances Delatour turns up for like 2 scenes.
She's in every British film, isn't she?
Yeah, she's in. Yeah, but Rusty Tovey as well turns up for like 2 seconds.
Yep.
Which is a nice little cameo. But yeah,
I think essentially all the History Boys were involved at some point.
Yeah, I mean, James Corden obviously gets one scene in the film as well. But
Dominic Cooper, who's exceptionally busy. I'm surprised. Even for that 2 minutes he's in it.
Yeah, exactly. But you get what you come for. You get this wacky story of this lady who lives in a van for 15 years, and how this man sort of says he's not going to transcribe her life, but he ends up getting very involved with her indeed. So it's a wonderful low key story that will just, you know, it's a good way to spend an hour and a half. It's very light, and it's very, you know, you enjoy it.
It's the odd kind of chuckle, isn't it?
Yeah. I know, like I said, it wasn't laugh a minute, but
certainly with our kind of audience compared to the audience it's intended for.
I just had a smile on my face the whole time.
Some will probably fly over our heads.
I mean, obviously being based off a play, it is very theatrical.
Yeah.
But it does, you know, sometimes it doesn't translate well to cinema.
No.
Theatre plays, but this one does kind of work.
Yeah,
I think
because there's a lot of visual stuff as well, like seeing this batty old woman sort of staggering down and sort of in a battered old van as well, you know. You get really funny visuals of that. You know,
Yeah.
there's some physical comedy in there.
That's just what Maggie Smith brings, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very, she really gives it a lot. Maggie Smith. It's
Just committed to it.
arguably overacted, but that's what the role needed, I guess.
Yeah.
I've seen it described as twee, which is kind of the word I would use. Someone summed it up very nicely by saying it's very twee, and I agree. But I did very much like the narrative structure of having the two.
There's nothing really to get offended about, really. I mean,
And I think if you've seen Alan Bennett before in interviews or anything, Jennings does a pretty good job of.
I cannot say I have, so I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, and then of course at the end it smashes through the fourth wall and into the cinema screen with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, taking it as it is, there's nothing to be offended by, and it's a good way to spend some time. And it probably appeal more to the older audience, but there's definitely stuff here for our age if you want a really nice, just competently made and competently written.
Chances are it will be on your TV screens on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
This is the biggest TV bait of any film probably released this year.
Sit there, nice cup of tea, a couple of biscuits.
Yeah.
Maybe have a little nap halfway through, but
And watch some proper British talent.
Yep.
Doing what they do best.
It's the who's who of elderly British talent.
Smith, Jennings, Broadbent, Delatour.
And then Roger Allam as well, who the neighbour across the street.
Yeah.
Known more to us as Peter Mannion from The Thick of It.
Mhm.
Which is always nice to see him pop up. Anyway, that sounds to me.
So I'd recommend.
That sounds like a